Hey everyone, I'm Albert Boris, and as you guys know, I'm an avid Mario Party fan. I've played most of the entries in the series, and for me, one of the things that have always been an instant plus in these games in my book are the boss battle minigames. Boss battles are a pretty interesting concept in Mario Party. They've been sparsely distributed between Mario Parties, but when they do get their chance to shine, they more often than not end up being one of the most memorable parts of that game. A boss battle minigame just adds so much more tension to an already tense game of Mario Party. You're battling an actual threat whose defeat will more likely than not confirm the winner of the game. Unfortunately, ever since Super Mario Party, they've been strangely dispatched from the series. But what if that wasn't the case? What if Mario Party Superstars actually had individual boss battle minigames that played at the end of each game? That's what this video will be about. Predicting potential boss candidates for each of the 5 boards. Now, I've got to set up some rules first. There are 2 types of boss battle minigames. Solo bosses, where you alone try to defeat the boss, and party bosses, where you team up with your opponents to take out the boss. Obviously, I have to predict party mode bosses, as this is a multiplayer game on a console entry. Solo bosses were only meant for the handheld games, which are more single player oriented. And secondly, I will try to predict boss battles from previous games, but if there's no available boss battle, I'll try to come up with a new idea for a boss minigame. And before we start this video, make sure to like, share and subscribe to my channel, because at 1000 subscribers, I'll make a ranking on every single Mario Party game. And make sure to follow me on Twitter, Discord and Reddit for updates. With that being said, let's begin. We'll start off with the first board in the game, Yoshi's Tropical Island. Picking a potential boss candidate for this board is easy, and so is picking a boss minigame. Who causes you the most trouble on this board? Who is the one who must always find one way or another to switch the places of the star when you least expect it to? Cheap Chomp. It's really the only enemy on this board that plays a pivotal role, and a negative one as well, so it's a clear candidate for a boss minigame. I don't really have an idea for a brand new kind of boss minigame, but that's okay, because the only boss minigame Cheap Chomp is actually served in actually fits the narrative of this board quite well. Mega Cheap Chomp's Shell Shock from Mario Party 10. Even if you hate Mario Party 10, you can't deny that its boss minigames were a blast, and this is one of the best examples. It's simple. You have 3 shells in your cannon to shoot a Cheap Chomp with, but every time it gets hit, it will turn around clockwise to the next player in its path, and after the timer runs out, that player will face the wrath of the Swimming Terror. There are so many reasons this boss battle could work so well for this board. Not only is this the first board in the game, but equally as such is this a mini-boss, which would fit the narrative of the beginner board of this game. And secondly, the gimmick of this minigame is actually surprisingly similar to the board's one. In Yoshi's Tropical Island, every time you land on an event space, Toadette and Bowser switch places, meaning whoever has the bad luck of standing right next to Bowser because of someone else's action gets the prize. Meanwhile, in this minigame, every time someone fires a shell at Cheap Chomp, he'll face another player, and the character who's unfortunate to face the bad guy will have to pay the price. Sure, it's not completely similar, as it's a little more luck than skill, but the similarities are still surprisingly similar. It would have made a great first boss for this game. Just replace the cavern setting with something more tropical and you have the perfect opening boss battle.
Dude, that's literally the worst comparison you could have made. Nothing you said was comprehensible in the slightest.
Well, if you can do it so much better, then why don't you step up for me, my evil twin brother?
Well, I'm in for that.
But too bad I don't care, I gotta continue making this video now. The next board in this game is the mediocre Spaceland, which is definitely harder to come up with a boss to. I know who I'd narrow down the candidate to, but on the other hand, the minigame he represents has little to nothing to do with how Spaceland plays. I'm obviously talking about Whomp, and his sole boss minigame is Whomp Stomp from Mario Party 9. It's also more of a mid-boss, which would fit the second board in the game. However, Whomp's role is drastically different in these 2 cameos. In Spaceland, he'll be speeding through the board when you land on an event space, forcing you to go back several hundred meters.
Dude, that's not a Whomp, it's a Twomp. Did you not double check the footage before you wrote the script?
Oh there, you're right. Well, but they were Whomps on the N64 and I have to quickly get done with this video, so please just live with it.
Okay then.
While in Whomp Stomp, he's just waiting for the players to mind trick each other. I mean, it's not completely irrelevant to the board. There's kind of a mind-playing aspect to the board of Spaceland with a Bowser laser, but how you play Womp Stomp is drastically different. Sure, it could maybe work if you just replace the factory aesthetic with a space station elevator, but even so, this boss minigame is way too similar to Cheap Chomp's Shell Shock. Both involve one player having to get hit by the boss for the others to stay safe. Like, let's be real. Another maybe more fitting boss minigame that could be brought back for this board is Bowser's Space Race from Mario Party Star Rush. Only replace Bowser with Womp. It's definitely got a few more similarities with the board of Spaceland. It's set in space and you're racing against your opponents to get to the end of a huge track to deliver an explosive surprise to Bowser, or in this case, Womp. This minigame is definitely more fitting than the Womp Stomp. Not only is it already set on a space station, but you're speeding, just like the Womps do in this board. And just like Spaceland, it's the most boring diagonal layout ever. Sorry Spaceland lovers, but you know it to be true. Sure, this is technically a final boss minigame, but it really feels nothing like that, so I don't care for that. Needless to say, the only thing Womp would be doing in this minigame is wait for the players to come. Not much like what it do on the border play, but it could do. I do have an idea for how we could make a brand new boss minigame that fits the narrative of Spaceland. Let's call it Womp's Brain Bunk. The concept is, you're all running on a straight line, away from a Womp speeder, in the setting of a space station. You're instructed to memorize an order of buttons and then push them in that order. When you do it, you'll jump in the air and land on the Womp, and the faster you do it, and correctly, the more points you get, and the more elegant your jumps will be. Whoever doesn't hit the buttons in time will get run over by the Womp and lose points. And it just kind of repeats. Eventually, the memorizations will become greater and the time limit will become shorter, evening out in a crazy battle. Heck, maybe you even could have mirage buttons. You know, buttons that appear in a different color, which means you can't hit them or you lose points. Yeah, I know this whole concept sounds kind of basic, but hey, be my guest, come up with a better idea in the comments below. The reason I went for this type of minigame isn't just because it wouldn't conflict with Womp's role on the board, but on the other hand, this kind of boss battle has been done before, so it wouldn't really conflict with a bring back old minigames trope. And if you had a good ear, you would even notice that I copied the name from Dry Bowser's Brain Bunk from Mario Party Island Tour. In the end, I think either of this or Womp's Space Race would be a decent battle minigame for Spaceland. They both do the job and don't feel out of place for this particular board. Now when it comes to Peach's birthday cake, it gets pretty difficult to come up with a boss. For one, the board is themed around a cake. Not a single boss minigame in Mario Party takes place on a dessert. Or a desert. Because while Mario Party Star Rush does have a cake-themed board, the boss minigames in this game are kind of standalone from the boards. The main enemies of this board are piranha plants, kind of, but they don't really fit as bosses for anything, and the main gimmick of this board is the Flower Seed Lottery, which boils down to luck, but the only boss battle to ever have been pure RNG is Bowser Jr.'s Breakdown from Mario Party 9. But none of this is good material for a third board boss minigame. Now narrowing down a boss is still kind of easy. Petey Piranha would do the job well. He's kind of a piranha plant. His bosses include Petey's Bomb Battle from Mario Party 10 and Petey Piranha's Shell Smackdown from Mario Party Star Rush. And since I've already predicted a shell shooting minigame for this prediction, you know which one I'm picking. I know this boss battle has little to nothing to do with the board's gameplay, but I would not want a luck-based minigame, so this will do it. It's a simple but highly addictive minigame. In Mario Party 10, it's also the first real boss battle, so that narrative would fit the third board pretty well. Just replace the amusement park setting with a cake and maybe turn the bombs into explosive seeds, and I think we'll have a pretty cool minigame returnee. Alright, now Woody Woods is probably both the easiest and hardest board to come up with a boss minigame to. The boss candidate is easy. Who? Moody, Woody's evil twin brother.
Did somebody say evil twin brother?
Here we go again.
What? You aren't happy to see me again?
No, I'm not. I was finally getting a couple of minutes for myself.
Well, too bad you're about to be on my partner in crime in a couple of minutes. I'm not gonna let you diss him.
What are you talking about?
Yes, Moody is my best friend. We're both considered inferior to our pretentious know-it-all twin brothers whose existence dwell on having a legitimate birth certificate.
What does that have to do with anything in this video?
Oh, you know. Anyways, I gotta make up new plans to take over your channel. See ya.
Looks like I have a new least favorite Mario character. Oh well, where was I? Oh yes, Moody. He's the only bad guy on this board. So let's see which boss minigames he hosts. Oh. Yeah, now I could just do what I did with Bowser's Space Race and take an existing minigame and replace the boss with Moody, but the problem is that he's a tree. The only possibility is that he gets to roleplay in a boss minigame where the boss battle is immobilized, but all forest-themed bosses in Mario Party are running around like crazy.
Yeah, no, you're lying. Mega Goomba's bad dream for Mario Party Star Rush is a forest-themed boss where the boss battle is immobilized. That works.
Did you miss the part where that's the first f***ing boss battle you encounter in that game?
Oh, yeah.
And also, it sucks. So you know what? I'm coming up with a new minigame. It's going to be somewhat similar in style of Deck Dry Bones and Mega Sledge Bros cards, but it's going to be distinctive. This is Moody's Fruit Fuse. You're all standing in front of Moody in the middle of nowhere. You're told to memorize all the different fruits that are hanging from him, and after a few seconds, they will begin to shuffle. And you need to keep track of which ones to pick. Some of these fruits offer you a weapon. Other fruits will send a huge peach rolling down on you, taking away points from you in the process. And one very special reverse fruit, which will reverse the order the fruits are hanging from Moody. However, that won't count as your pick, because you'll still get to pick an actual fruit after that. There are so many ways this minigame could work. Not only does it represent Moody's fruit picking game when you land on his base, but the reverse fruit idea I came up with also represents the main gimmick of the board, the reversing arrows. This minigame could actually have quite a lot of strategy. It may seem like just another simple memorization battle at first, but that's why I included a reverse fruit. The 200 IQ player could look after both a weapon fruit and a reverse fruit. Remember where the weapon fruit would be if mirrored, and thus quickly take the reverse fruit before anyone else gets to pick one, and thereby confusing everyone by being the sole person to know the location of a weapon fruit. But it could also be to that player's loss. What if someone else's cursor is currently closer to that fruit? What if you're slow and everyone already gets to pick a fruit before you? Heck, what if someone else had the same idea but let you pick the reverse fruit so they could quickly camp the correct spot and snag the weapon fruit before you? Honestly, there's so much potential for a minigame like this. In fact, even talking about it makes me wish it actually existed. But oh well, at least nothing stops me from predicting. I feel like this board would fit Woody Woods very well, more so than any other boss I predicted fits their boards. It's the fourth and semi-final board, and thus a somewhat moody atmosphere would suffice enough for the fourth boss, not to mention the sheer chaos with a reverse fruit. Heck, there could even be multiple reverse fruits per round to make it even more crazy. My point stands clear. Out of all the boss predictions I've made, this is by far the one I would have loved the most to see. And so we get to Horrorland, the finale board. Oh, okay, technically there should have been an additional unlockable board, but hey, for what it is, Horrorland quite well fits as the last board you play, as the moody atmosphere tells you that this board ain't a joke. Not only is it one of the more difficult boards to play, but it's also one of the most difficult boards to narrow down a boss battle to. So, who are the natural enemies of this board? Mr. I? Not really, it's optional whether or not you want to travel across the board. King Boo seems like he could be a candidate, but again, he's in the player's favor and it's all optional whether or not you want to use him. And definitely not Bowser, he barely has a role at all in this game. Luckily, I know the perfect character to represent the boss battle for this board. Bertel Oris, the evil twin brother. I have the perfect concept for this one, and it's easily my favorite one. You defeat him by clicking on the subscribe button and setting on the notification bell, because at 1000 subscribers, I will... Okay, chill. Anyways, unironically, the only possible character I can actually think of to fit this role is Kamek. Sure, he doesn't do much on this board, in fact he's barely in the board at all, but in a way, it's still his signature board. Think about it, he's a wizard, and in the original Mario Party 2, Bowser dressed up as a wizard as well on this board and terrorized everyone. It only makes sense. So what boss minigames does he have? There's Book Bash from Mario Party DS, Kamek's Rocket Rampage from Mario Party 10, and Kamek's Card Tricks from Mario Party Star Rush. Out of these three, one is a solo boss minigame, while the other's concept has already been used in this prediction. So Kamek's Rocket Rampage it is. Yeah, I know 3 of the boss minigames in this prediction are from Mario Party 10, but who cares at this point? And honestly, this minigame is perfect for Horrorland. Because would you actually believe it? There's a day and night cycle on this boss minigame. Yes, the very thing the board of Horrorland is built upon. The first half of this boss battle takes place during daytime, while the second half, it's a blue night. If you just replace the golden cloud setting with an open sky above a graveyard, it would be amazing for Horrorland. That's not even mentioning the fact that this is already one of the best Mario Party boss minigames of all time. Sure, it's not very finale-ish, but neither is this board finale, so who cares? It's one of the most addictive boss minigames that would finally conclude the last board of Mario Party Superstars. And so, those are the boss ideas I have for Mario Party Superstars. What bosses would you have picked if we had gotten any for this game? If you like this video, then please like and share and subscribe to my channel, as that would help me a lot.
Or you could just not subscribe to this dictator.
Dude, why the f are you still here?